Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Urvashi and I work as a professional trainer and I provide trainings in front-end development technologies, that is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React.js and Redux. Welcome to the 16th video of JavaScript of Let's Crack It with Urvashi series. In today's video, we are going to talk about closures, call apply methods in JavaScript. Whenever we hear this term, especially in interviews, we generally get confused. We maybe have seen this topic, but we don't know how to answer this question in interviews. So we are going to see in detail what is closure, what is outer function, inner function, how to return a function, what is lexical environment, what is lexical scope variables. And apart from that, we will see call and apply methods, their difference. We will see all of it in today's video. And before we go to the video, don't forget to check out my interview preparation material. I've added the description below, so do check that out. Now let's get to the video.
So the very first topic we have is closures. So closure is a function that has direct access to the parent scope. When I say parent scope, means whatever functions variables we have in the parent scope, even after the parent function has closed. So that means I'm going to create a function. In that I'm going to create few variables, and then I'm going to make sure that function returns some another function. And you will see even after that function has stopped executing, I'm able to access their variables outside the main parent function. So this closure is a common topic. You will see this topic in every programming language, even if it's C++, Java, C Sharp, every language has this topic. So it's a very generic topic which is also there inside our JavaScript. In closures, each function stays together to the variable of the functions that surround. As I said, there are going to be variables and I'm going to return some function. So a function which is going to be returned will have all the variables around its lexical environment. We will see what is a lexical environment later. So that function, that inner function which is returned, is able to access the inner variables, that is the parent scope variables outside the function. So we are able to do all of it because of the closures. So each function stays connected to the variable of the function that's surrounded even after it leaves the scope in which it was created. We know that JavaScript variables can belong to the local scope or global scope. And here through closures, we can make global variables local with closures. Local means private with the closures. So with the concept of closures, we are able to make our global variables local. Now let's see through the code step by step what was there, what issues were there, and how it was resolved with the closures. So let's get to Visual Studio Code. So here I have my Visual Studio Code. This is my HTML and this is my JS file. So I will just start with a very basic approach. Let's say I have a variable counter is equal to 0. And I'm going to create some function, let's say count value like this. Let's say this is just displaying some data. Let's say counter and incrementing it as well. Let's say counter plus equal to 1. So let's say this function is incrementing the value of counter. So this is the use of this function to increment the value of counter by 1. So whenever someone will call this function, value of the counter will be incremented by 1. So let's say I'm calling this function from here. Calling this function means I'm calling this count value first. Then again, I'm going to call count value. And third time as well, I'm going to say count value. That means if I have to increment this counter by 3, I have to call this function 3 times. Now let's run this. Now if I go to inspect console, here I can see 1, 2, 3 individually. Now let's say the issue here is someone can come and change the value of counter. Let's say I made counter is equal to 20 here. Now if I run this, I will get 1, 21 and 22. This is the issue here. So anyone can change the value of this counter variable here because this is in global scope. This variable is in global scope. That is the issue here. Now this issue can be resolved. Let's say here I'm using or I'm making counter local, let's say. So I will just say function, let's say display curly braces. I will say where counter equal, or let's say count is equal to 0. And I will say console.log of count. And we have to increment it as well. So I'll just say count increment by 1. And I will call this function thrice. Now, if I run this piece of code, you will see I will get 1, 1, 1 in all the cases. The reason is I'm calling this function from line number 23. So it's var count is equal to 0, incrementing by 1, consoling the value of count. Now again on line number 24, this function is called and count value is still declared again with the value 0. And then I'm able to see the 1 value. That is the issue here. If I make this global variable local private over here, this will not give me the desired result. Here I'm getting the desired result. But issue here is anyone can change this variable because it's a global variable. We can resolve this issue with closures. So basically, we want a process that I'm able to access the variable which is there inside this function outside as well. And I should be able to maintain its privacy as well, privacy of the variable. So this is how we can do. So function counter val, let's say counter val, or we can make some method like increment counter. Here I will say var counter is equal to 0. Then I will make sure this should return something. So I will say return function round braces curly braces. So this outer function is returning some inner function. So here let's say it is going to return me counter. But before returning it should increment. Let's say counter plus plus. So counter plus plus, this is the post increment. And to access this value of counter outside, we are going to create inc is equal to inc counter. Firstly, we are going to call out this method over here to receive what this function is returning. Since this function is returning as inc, so this will be stored inside a variable like this. And we do something like inc round braces like this. So this is how a function is returned and this is how we access it. Now inc will be called, that means this function will be called. And if you see, you're able to access this counter even if this function is stopped executing even after this because of this function, which is a closure now. And this is what we call lexical environment. These variables has parent scope and they are in the lexical environment. Lexical here basically means all the variables surrounding this function, you're able to access them outside the function because so they are in lexical environment over here. Now I can call this function as many times I want. And there's one thing that even this inner function is returning us something. So we have to capture that as well. So I will say var I is equal to inc round brace. And then simply I can console inc. So here you will see this inner function is called once, second, and then thrice. So very first time when this function is called, so it will be counter plus 1. Counter is 0 plus 1, it will make counter value 1. After this line, it will call this part of function. So it will be counter is equal to counter plus 1. So it will be 1 plus 1, which is 2. And after this, it will be 3. So I will get 3 in I. So if I run this, I will see 3 value here. So here you can see easily we were able to achieve what we wanted and we were able to increment it as well. And my variable is private as well. No one can update it from here. Now no one can come and update my counter variable here like this. So closures are powerful. However, they have one problem: they can have pollution. Like you have to create so many functions inside another function and you're returning variables. So this can lead to pollution. But there are ways, there are user cases where you should use closures. For example, whenever I have to reuse a variable, and whenever I want some privacy, and when namespace privacy is not necessity. So that is the place we should use closures. Let's take another example. So this is the another example is very important, and this is asked in interviews as well. So let's say I will create a function. Let's say display data, or let's say display name. I will have two variables here. Let's say var first name is equal to Elena, and then var last name is equal to Jen. I will create two functions inside this. Let's say first is going to display first name, and next function is going to display last name. I will just console first name, and here it is going to console last name. Now there are two functions inside one function. Now I want to do some conditional rendering, that based on some condition I want to return one method at a time. So let's say I will say var result is equal to, now I'm going to use ternary operator. We can use if else as well, and we know if there is just one if else statement, we can simply use ternary operator. So var result is equal to condition question mark. This is how we can use. So here let me just put some condition. Let's say first name triple equal to Elena. If first name is Elena, then return first, that is first function, otherwise return last. That basically means whatever we were returning here, so this time we return the function directly. So there was no need to name a function or anything like that here. But here I'm creating two functions first, and based on some condition I'm returning this. So these are the closure functions I have created. Now I have to just return result here. So outside I will write var r is equal to display name. So I will get the result, this result function in this r. I will just going to call this r from here. So here we don't have to use round braces, because whenever you're returning any function, you just write return and the function name. That's it. So here result should have first or last based on this condition. So this is also a closure over here. So if I run, I will get Elena here. Since condition is true, so I will get first function here, which is consoling the value of first name. So here in this R, basically I'm calling out this function first. So this is a good example of closures generally asked in interviews. This is what we have with closures. Next important topic we have is call. So with the call method, you can write a method that can be used on different objects. Let's say there's one object which has one object method, and there's another object which has properties, and I want to use properties of second object inside first object's object method. Then simply I can use call method. So there is another method apply. So both these call and apply methods are like utilities we can use with existing objects, or you can create objects and we can use there as well. So we know in JavaScript, all functions are like object methods. For example, we have seen in BOM, window is the main global object. So even if I'm creating some method, that global method becomes the method of the window object. So basically all methods are like the object methods only. So call method is a predefined JavaScript method. So it's already predefined. We already have it. We can simply use it whenever we want it. So this call method can be used to invoke or call a method with an owner object as an argument. So we can simply use this call method as a argument with owner object over here. Let's see through the code how we can use it. So firstly we have call. Let me create some variable over here. Let's say var person is equal to curly braces. I will just say full name function. So this is my object method over here. Now let's say there is another variable var user is equal to curly braces. Here we have, let's say, first name as Alex, age as, let's say, 26. Now here I will just write person. So this is how we use it. Person, the place where we want to use these objects. Person dot full name. So in this method, person dot full name, in this method dot call. This is how we use it. And in this call, the very first thing we pass is the object which we want to use in this person object over here. So we want to use these properties. I will just pass user, comma. If we want to pass some more arguments, we can just pass it here. A list of arguments. Let's say I want to pass India. Let's say a country name I want to pass India. So this is how we can add. If I want to, let's say, pass state as well, let's say Maharashtra. This is also I can add. And I will receive all these values, these two values here. Let's say country and the state. I don't have to add user as a parameter over here because I can already access it. So to access these values, you have to use this dot first. Even if I'm going to create, let's say this method is here, is not existing there, is already here. So we use this keyword only to access properties of the user. So again, we are going to follow the same process. This dot first plus, let's say, this dot age. And then we can access country. Country we can directly add since it's passed received here as the parameter. So we can pass the list of additional arguments as well and the object as well. So this is how through a call method I'm able to access this object's data inside this. Now let's see the output. Here I can see Alex 26 India. That means this is a correct output. The same thing goes for apply. Now in apply method, it also works the same way as call. You can write a method that can be used on different objects. The only difference is in this we pass arguments like a array. Instead of free list of arguments, we pass an array. It is similar to call, but we pass data in the form of array. So I'm using the same set of objects. So I will write, let's say, person dot full name dot apply. And here I'm going to pass the list of my array. So here we use this. This is how we send the data. I will just say, let's say Norway. Now if I run this, I will get Norway here and I will get India here. So whatever data is passed, it will display data accordingly. So here I sent the data in the form of array. Definitely if I have to choose between call and apply, call is faster because here you have free list of arguments and here you have array. So call is faster than apply, but both are similar. Now we can use these on existing objects as well. For example, math dot max is a method we have to find the maximum value. Now let's say if I want to find the maximum value in an array, I can write math dot max dot apply, and here I can simply pass the values. Let's say some object if you want to pass, or if you don't have any object, just pass null or empty string, comma. I'm going to pass the array from which I want to find the maximum value. This is how I can use. And I can simply put this inside a console. So, to practice this, you guys can simply apply this use apply method on math object. You can just try that. Here I will get 90 because that's the maximum number here. You can try math object. Whatever we have in math object, we can use this apply on that. Or call as well if you want to pass data like normally maximum numbers. So just replace apply with call, comma, pass list of arguments. So this is how we can use call and apply here.
Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you're liking my videos, if you're liking my content, if you're liking Let's Crack It with Urvashi series, don't forget to share it with your friends, family, aspiring developers, working professionals. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share my channel. And do check my interview preparation material. Thank you. See you guys in the next video.